Hey, Ty here, so welcome to the VR Tech channel. So this week, so many big things actually happened in VR, and of course we're here to talk about it. We just received a big update for the Meta platform to enhance games and mixed reality. Microsoft just dropped Xbox Cloud Gaming on the platform, and also Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. Are you productive yet? We have new updates and fixes on Steam Link, Meta crashing PSVR 2 in sales, and unfortunately the rumored cancellation of the biggest Meta competitor, Pico. And that is sad. Let's get into it. Alright, let's start right away with the big update for the Meta platform. And we're talking about the new big mixed reality update with the actual occlusion to use in apps and final support for the inside-out upper body tracking and the new AI legs. So let's start with mixed reality, because if you use that, you might notice that in some games, unless you actually set everything right in the room, you're not gonna have actual occlusion. So that means that your holograms are gonna stay in front of every object in your actual real environment all the time. And this is something very weird, actually breaks the immersion quite a lot. The only actual game that was using occlusion with the depth sensor was actually the introduction to mixed reality on the Quest 3, where you're actually shooting all those bolts. And well, rejoice, because right now they actually enabled the API to use for every single game. So that means that every single game is going to use not just the information from the environment you actually set up to use, but also from the depth sensor in the middle of the Meta Quest 3. That means that if your hand goes through an object, well, they're not gonna see the object through your hand, of course, and because of that, everything will feel much more grounded. Now, the depth sensor on the Meta Quest 3 is not the highest resolution out there, so of course it's not gonna be perfect, mostly with the hands, for example, or for some little spaces and crevices in our objects, but things might get better in the future, and it's already something to actually feel everything more realistic, even if it's a virtual thing. As you saw, this is the example with the guitar, occluded by the hands and also by a chair, and we all agree that feels much better than a guitar that's always in front of everything that is in front of it. Just doesn't make sense. But the second big thing is the actual upper body tracking, and this is super important and super awesome because they're gonna use the cameras on the headset to actually track the top of your body. They're not going to be able to track your legs, unfortunately, but we're going to talk about that just in a bit. So this is not going to be just an approximate position of your elbows or of your shoulders and something like that, but the games are going to be able to use your actual upper body to reproduce your body in VR. That means that when you aim down, well, the arm is going to be exactly in the right position also in games. Your avatars are going to feel more realistic in social platforms. And yeah, this is a big shift actually for immersion, because developers, when they're making games, usually opted to just give you hands or just give you just a part of your arms, because having a full body that didn't really represent yourself always felt a bit weird, so many people were just turning it off to avoid having that problem. Instead, right now, your avatar is going to be able to have your same movements and everything will feel completely real. That means that we're going to start to see games with these features, and they're going to just feel more immersive, more realistic, because there are these little things that actually make a big difference. Of course, as we said, the legs are not going to be able to be tracked. Not yet, at least. So the new update brings AI generative legs. So that means that the position is approximate in base of the AI trying to understand where the legs should be, instead of just two things that follow the body like we had till now. Bear in mind though that this is not tracking at all, so it will feel a bit more natural, will look a bit more natural in your avatars, but if you sit down, well, your legs are not going to represent crossing or something like that. They're just gonna be straight because there's no tracking again for the legs. I mean, we're talking about legs, so baby steps. What is not baby steps actually is how much Meta sold in this holiday season. It's still selling in this holiday season. The big thing was actually for Black Friday, where the Quest 2 actually nailed and destroyed everything, included the Quest 3, but there's a big difference, as you can see, for the PSVR 2 with the Quest 2 and the Quest 3. And while I'm not against the PSVR 2, I actually have to say that it shows how much of the investment for the Meta platform Facebook Meta is actually doing right now. I mean, we have so many new games like Assassin's Creed, Ask a Rat, the Lego game, all coming out right now. It's impossible to follow their release. I mean, it's a bit too much, to be honest, right now. Calm down. There are so many games right now and more headsets around, so it seems like a very good period for VR in general. In general, unfortunately, but not for ByteDance and Pico, because a new report came out where ByteDance, the parent company of Pico, there's, the same of TikTok, is not very happy with the results from the headset, because sales were below expectations. Now, I love my Pico 4 and you know all that. I actually made a video like last week, at the beginning of the week, about the Pico 4. So this hurts a bit because I'm still suggesting this headset, and right now it'll be a bit more difficult. Now, we don't have a confirmation from Pico yet, but it seems like the Pico 5, the one that had to have the new processor from Qualcomm, and also a much higher resolution display, well, has been completely cancelled and shelved because they don't see a market to actually compete with Meta in the consumer market, where, games and applications are the most important. And unfortunately, we know that Pico didn't receive many applications and games. He's always like the second tier kid in that regard. So while I hope that this report is not actually true, we actually know that they laid off around the 60% of their workforce. They went from 1,800 people to actually 800 people, and that's very bad. The weird thing is that they still offer a refresh for the Pico 4, the one that we saw without the rings on the controllers, and it's gonna be a cheaper version of the Pico 4, apparently, to compete with the rumored cheaper Quest 3, but mostly because they decided to stop competing with Meta to actually compete in high-end systems with Apple with the Vision Pro. And that to me doesn't make sense at all. I mean, if you're not able to compete with Meta, this is just a much smaller company. How are you thinking that you can actually compete with Apple? This is one of the only companies able to sell you a $3,500 thing and make you feel like you did well. I mean, would you buy a $3,000 headset from Pico? I don't think I would, so let me know what you think, please. This thing is just so strange. But anyhow, not stranger than the fact that Microsoft actually dropped Word, PowerPoint, and Excel on the Meta Quest Marketplace. App Store, whatever. Yeah, these apps are exactly like the apps that you actually get on the browser, and they have full functionalities. They actually work pretty well, and they work with mouse and keyboard if you need to, and it's just a flat app. Of course, nothing 3D in an Excel sheet, but if you want to be productive in VR, AR, MR, now you can do it. It will connect, of course, to your Microsoft account, and you're gonna have all your things already there because it's all in the cloud, and that's the move that Microsoft is doing right now, bringing everything to the cloud. And what's from the cloud that just arrived as well, and it's actually very cool because we were waiting for this for like very, very long, it's of course Xbox Cloud Gaming. And I think that the app is actually pretty good and pretty enjoyable. You're gonna find it in the store like any other app. Opening it up, it's gonna have a bit of a tutorial, and then of course you're gonna have to sign in with your Xbox account to actually play games on the cloud. To my knowledge, if you don't have Game Pass Ultimate, it goes for $16.99. By the way, look online because there are ways to get them for much cheaper. The only way to pay without paying is to play Fortnite. I have the account, so I'm not gonna be able to confirm it, but I have to say that trying some games is actually pretty cool. You can use hand tracking and a gesture on the left to actually change the size of the screen in front of you, and of course you can pair your controller over there. Fun fact, it's gonna work with the Xbox controller but also with the DualSense controller, so if you are from PlayStation, don't worry, you can still use it. And by the way, it's not like a Portal, you don't actually need Xbox, but you need just your Xbox account to actually play. And that's pretty cool. I played some Dead Space, and what I noticed right away is the latency is a bit higher of what happens on your PC with the browser if you use it on your phone with cloud. And I'm not really sure why. And it seems like we're actually streaming at 720p. The resolution doesn't seem to be very high. One particular thing also is that with this app, it's gonna change your environment right away to this new Xbox environment, and you're not going to be able to change it. Also, unfortunately, there's just one environment. What you can do is to actually double tap on the side of your headset and go in pass-through, where you're going to see all around you and this big screen in front of you. To be honest, it would be very nice to be able to move the screen where you want, and something that you can't actually do. It seems like to be stuck in place. And for me, I would like to see a render of the controller in VR when I play it, because it's just weird to see my hands working with hand tracking without anything in the middle and just play games with, like, you know, an air controller or something like that. It's weird. But we're close to the end and the updates are not done, because we got a big update for Steam Link beta. We reviewed and talked about Steam Link actually in one of the previous videos, so check it out if you didn't already. But right now they actually added advanced super simple filtering. So that means that you're gonna be able to push up the resolution even over the panel resolution to have a crisper image also in the streaming, and that's super cool. Of course, be aware that you're gonna need a very powerful PC to do that. And big thing, unfortunately, just for AMD cards, right now they enable the 10-bit encoding possibility. So that means that you're gonna have much less color bending and colors are gonna look just much better in there. But yeah, they also added some little fixes to the debug UI, for example. And yeah, it just looks better and works even better than before. And that's what you wanna see, because they already fixed the audio problems that I had and many people had in the previous update. And they just keep updating this app on the Quest platform. And that's absolutely amazing, because right now it's becoming the best way to actually stream VR games from the PC. Even if VD is actually better in quality, this just feels like native. It's just like click and play. It's amazing. But here we have it. This week was packed, and we didn't even talk about like Askar Vrad taking 10 out of 10 from IGN. That is insane. But anyway, guys, what you think about the Pico situation? I feel like not having a competitor is absolutely awful, because Meta becomes like a monopoly again, and it doesn't make sense because VR needs more competition, and the only competition seems arriving to Meta is actually from the very high-end products like the Vision Pro. And if everyone's gonna shoot for these $3,000 headsets, like, what's left for us? I don't know. Pico 5 sounded amazing when we heard about it for the first time, and I just hope that, you know, it's still in the afterburner, and it's gonna happen sometime later 2024. But fingers crossed. Like, we need competition. Even if ByteDance is not the best company in the world, it's better than nothing. But let me know what you think about it in the comment below. And as always, guys, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like this, dislike. Subscribe to the channel for more VR tech. If you really love the channel, join button on there. Time further, also the Patreon. Thanks to all the Patreons who join the channel, of course. And I see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.